At the beginning of the story, we are introduced to a powerful man named Finist and his disciple Annie. At this moment, both of them were venturing deep into the forest to capture a huge wild boar that had been causing great destruction by ruining the villagers' crops. The people of the village were extremely troubled and desperate because of this beast. But even in the face of such a terrifying creature, Finist did not feel the slightest trace of fear. With calm confidence, he told Annie that everyone in the village considered him a hero, and if he could not subdue a mere boar, then what honor and respect would remain for him? With this resolve, Finist raised his weapon and launched an attack on the boar. But his initial small strikes had absolutely no effect. Seeing this, Annie stepped in to help his master. He thrust his weapon at the boar, and it pierced its snout. But that only made things worse. The beast, which had been dozing, instantly woke up and became enraged. With burning fury in its eyes, the boar charged straight toward Annie. Before the beast could reach his disciple, Finist boldly stepped forward and blocked its path. With all the strength in his body, he tried to hold back the wild creature, but the boar was too powerful. With a single violent effort, it flung Finist high into the air. Yet fate had its own strange twist. Finist came crashing down, landing directly on top of the boar's back. Thinking quickly, Annie hurled a rope toward his master. Finist caught it just in time. But to everyone's shock, as soon as Finist gripped the rope, the massive boar began to lift off the ground and rise into the air. Wasting no time, Finist wrapped the rope around the boar's wings and horns, forcing the wild beast into submission. Soon, Finist was controlling the monstrous boar as if it were his mount. He guided it gracefully through the skies, and finally steered it back toward the village. When the villagers looked up and saw Finist making such a gigantic creature dance to his commands, they were struck with awe and joy. Their voices rose in loud chants of Finist's name, praising him as their mighty hero. Among the gathered people, however, was a sorceress named Baba Yaga. Instead of joining the cheers, she challenged Finist. She told him that if he was truly as powerful as everyone believed, he should prove it. She pointed out that in front of her house, there was a huge stone blocking the water's flow, and she challenged Finist to remove it. Finist laughed at the challenge, saying that throughout his life he had faced far greater troubles, and this was nothing more than a small obstacle. He bragged proudly about his strength and bravery. But Yaga simply replied that unless she saw it with her own eyes, she would not believe him. Her words made the gathered crowd laugh, mocking Finist instead of cheering for him. Enraged, Finist returned to his home, seething with anger at Baba Yaga. He could not bear that instead of being praised, he was now being ridiculed. Burning with the desire to prove his strength once again, he resolved to find a way to reclaim his honor. Annie, trying to advise his master, told him that there was only one path forward. Nearby stood a towering fortress, and it was said that inside lived a fearsome monster who had imprisoned a beautiful princess. If Finist could slay this monster and free the princess, his name would echo across the world with glory. Finist immediately decided that he would take on this monster. As night fell, he and Annie set out for the tower. When they reached it, they saw that several other warriors had already gathered there. They too had come to fight the monster. But unlike Finist, they were not chasing fame. They wanted to save the princess and marry her. They asked Finist who should win the princess's hand if they all fought the monster together. But Finist answered that he had no interest in marrying the princess at all. He had come only for glory and to make his name shine. Later that night, Finist whispered privately to Annie that he wanted to kill the monster alone. That was why he would not wait until morning. With quiet determination, he climbed into the tower through a window. Inside, he came face to face with the princess herself, a breathtakingly beautiful young woman. She looked at him with sad eyes and asked whether he had also come here only to meet his death. But Finist declared firmly that he had come to rescue her. Hearing this, the princess gasped and immediately ran inside. When Finist tried to stop her, he reached out and grabbed her hand. But she quickly pulled it away and hid behind a stone pillar in fear. At that very moment, Finist felt something lash at him from behind. A massive snake had struck. He fought back fiercely, only to discover that this was no ordinary snake. It was actually the tail of the terrifying monster itself. Now the real battle began. Finist struck at the beast with all his strength, but his blows made no impact. Desperate, he grabbed the snake's jaw, the tail's mouth, and tried to rip it apart. Just as he was prying it open with his full might, the snake spat venom directly into Finist's eyes. With a scream, Finist stumbled backward. His vision went black. He was blind. Yet even in his blindness, Finist did not surrender. Crawling across the ground, he felt around with his feet until he touched his weapon again. Rising unsteadily, he swung it blindly, striking into the darkness. But the monster had vanished. Finist's wild blows landed only on the walls of the tower, shattering them. Strike after strike, he pounded with such force that the entire tower began to collapse around him. The deafening sound woke the other warriors outside. They ran toward the falling rubble. But inside, neither the princess nor the monster could be seen. All they found was Finist, buried beneath debris, still struggling weakly to rise. When Annie discovered that his master had lost his eyesight, he brought him back home. Now blind and bitter, Finist became consumed by anger. His once heroic spirit turned sour, and he grew irritable and harsh. Watching his master suffer tore at Annie's heart, and at last, he went to Baba Yaga for help. He pleaded with her, telling her all that had happened to Finist. But Baba Yaga coldly refused. She reminded him that when she had once been in need, Finist had done nothing to help her. Why should she help him now? When Finist heard this, his heart sank with deep sorrow. Time passed, and Annie, too, stopped visiting as often. Finist struggled to survive each day. Blind, he could barely manage the simplest tasks. When he tried to go to the market for food, children mocked him, even stealing his fruits. His money began to run out. One day, Annie came by, but Finist, furious and humiliated, told him he had no use for him anymore. He shouted at Annie to go and find his own way in life. Hurt, Annie left. Soon after, all of Finist's money was gone. The proud warrior who once commanded a flying boar now ate only rotten fruits scavenged from the marketplace. One day, when even rotten fruits were nowhere to be found, Finist sat weakly in the market with an empty basket. By chance, Baba Yaga passed by. Seeing his pitiful state, she silently placed some food from her own basket into his. But before either could speak, chaos erupted. The village was suddenly attacked by ruthless bandits. The bandits showed no mercy, slaughtering villagers in the streets. Though blind, Finist could clearly hear the cries of the dying. When the bandits reached him, he rose to fight. Using only his hearing, he struck them down. Amazingly, he fought two, even 3 bandits at once. One bandit threw a rope to capture him, but Finist caught it mid-air, yanked the bandit off his horse, pulled him close, and beat him savagely. But soon, others attacked from behind, and at last, Finist fell unconscious. When he awoke, he found himself aboard a ship. His neck and arms were chained to a wooden board. Around him were Baba Yaga and many other captured villagers. To his surprise, he also saw Annie, but Annie was unchained, free to move about. Baba Yaga asked Annie why he was free. Annie explained that he had convinced the bandits he was on their side, that he would watch over the villagers for them. But in truth, Annie had stolen a golden lamp from the bandits. With pride, he showed it to the others, saying he would sell it and become rich. As he rubbed the lamp to clean it, a genie suddenly burst forth. Everyone froze in terror, even Annie himself. The loud commotion drew one of the bandits below deck. But before he could act, the genie struck, killing him instantly and flinging his body above. The genie then turned to Annie and asked what his wish was. Terrified, Annie shouted at him to return to the lamp. And at once, the genie obeyed. But just then, another bandit appeared and pressed a sword to Annie's throat, seizing the lamp back from him. The ship sailed on and finally reached Arabia. The captured villagers were lined up to be sold as slaves. A mysterious masked man appeared, and he bought Finist, Baba Yaga, and Annie. When they arrived at his palace, everyone was struck speechless by its magnificence. Inside, strange robots worked tirelessly, though this was a time in ancient history. Then the masked man removed his disguise. He revealed that he was a scientist, and that he had created all these robots with his own knowledge. He explained that he had built many other machines as well, inventions designed to make human life easier. Finist, still bitter from his fate, told the scientist his tragic story of how he had once been a mighty warrior, only to be reduced to blindness and despair. The scientist calmly replied that he already knew of both Finist and Baba Yaga. He revealed that he had a noble purpose. He bought slaves only so he could set them free. Later, when it was time to eat, the scientist summoned food through his robots. The others watched in shock, believing it was sorcery. But the scientist explained patiently that this was not magic. It was technology, the fruit of his research. He had been working on such creations for the past 500 years. Baba Yaga's eyes widened in disbelief. She asked him how he could possibly remain so young after 5 centuries. The scientist then revealed his greatest secret. He had developed a chemical which, once consumed, kept a person forever young. With that, he led Finist, Annie, and Baba Yaga into his great laboratory. When they reached the laboratory, Finist asked the scientist with great curiosity, "How did you prepare this chemical? And if I drink it, will my eyesight return as well?" The scientist shook his head and replied, "Not with this chemical, but I do have something else." He then placed a strange pair of glasses on Finist's face. The moment Finist wore them, his eyes lit up again. He could see everything clearly. Overjoyed, Finist looked around, marveling at the gift of sight. The scientist proudly declared that with the help of science, any miracle could be achieved. According to him, those who relied on magic only brought destruction to the world. He explained that to eliminate such harmful things, he had built a very special machine. To prove his point, he brought out the golden lamp he had earlier bought from the bandits. Yaga warned him in a stern voice, this could be dangerous. But the scientist paid no attention. He rubbed the lamp, and the mighty genie appeared before them. Instantly, the scientist switched on his machine. A powerful force surged out of it, pulling the genie inside. In a matter of moments, the genie was completely gone. "See," the scientist said proudly, "my invention destroyed the genie." That same night, the scientist received troubling news. There was a terrifying monster living on a nearby mountain, harming innocent people. Hearing this, he immediately declared, "That beast must be captured." When Finist asked about the creature's appearance, he was told it had the mouth of a lion and the tail of a snake. At once, Finist realized this was the very same monster that had blinded him. He stepped forward and said firmly, "I will also come with you. I must take revenge on that monster." The scientist, however, hesitated. He did not want to risk Finist's life. But Finist replied, "You have helped me regain my sight, and now it is my duty to help you in return." Moved by his determination, the scientist handed him a powerful gadget. "Place this near the monster," he explained. "It will capture the creature automatically." That night, Baba Yaga crept secretly into the scientist's laboratory. She longed to drink the chemical that granted eternal youth. But before she could take it, the scientist caught her in the act. Instead of punishing her, he gave her a condition. "If you succeed in bringing me the monster, I will give you a share of the chemical myself." The next morning, when everyone gathered to leave, the scientist unveiled something incredible, a spaceship shaped like a flying saucer. With it, they could reach the monster's lair far more quickly. He also carefully explained how to operate it. Before they departed, he reminded them with great seriousness, "Remember, I want that monster alive." To further prepare them, he handed Finist his upgraded weapon, now enhanced with a hidden button capable of things no ordinary blade could achieve. So, with everything ready, Finist, Annie, and Baba Yaga boarded the spaceship. In no time, they arrived at the mountain where the monster dwelled. After searching for hours, Finist finally discovered its footprints. The tracks led deep into a cave. Following the plan, Finist carefully placed the scientist's machine outside the cave entrance. Knowing he wasn't supposed to kill the monster, he bravely entered the cave, striking the air with his weapon to provoke it. Once he had its attention, he ran back out toward the machine. But just as he emerged, his head struck against a tree, and he collapsed unconscious on the ground. The monster roared and came out of the cave. Before it could attack Finist, Baba Yaga quickly sprang into action. She activated the machine, and from within it, dozens of heavy chains shot out, wrapping tightly around the beast and pulling it inside. With one final pull of the lever, Yaga sealed the monster inside the device. Not long after, Finist awoke. Together, they resumed their journey back. But the road was long, and so they stopped midway to rest for the night. That evening, Finist heard a faint girl's voice calling from inside the cage. Curious and moved, he began unlocking it. Baba Yaga rushed to stop him, warning him not to open it. But Finist was stubborn. He forced the cage open, and to his shock, inside sat the same princess he had once met in the tower. Baba Yaga's face hardened. "That means this princess is the monster," she said gravely. "Releasing her could be very dangerous." But Finist refused to listen. His heart had already fallen for her beauty. As he reached out his hand toward her, Baba Yaga shoved him aside and slammed the cage shut again. The princess, with sorrowful eyes, explained the truth. "I did not take your hand before because I am cursed. If any man touches me, I immediately transform into the monster. I am not evil. I never harm anyone unless I am attacked first. To prevent innocent people from suffering, I live alone in the mountains. Yet even here, humans never let me live in peace." Meanwhile, elsewhere, the scientist was conducting another cruel experiment. He had stolen a farmer's cat. The poor farmer begged desperately, "Please, sir, do not harm this cat. It never troubles anyone. At night, it even glows, giving light to the village." But the scientist ignored his pleas. He coldly placed the cat under his machine. The device roared to life, sucking out the magical power from the cat and converting it into a chemical. The cat collapsed lifeless, while the scientist carefully stored the chemical in his vault. It became clear he had already collected countless such chemicals, all taken from innocent magical beings. Back with Finist, the bond between him and the princess grew deeper. They had fallen in love. Baba Yaga and Annie, however, still decided to take both of them to the scientist as captives. But when they reached his palace, they halted at a distance, observing secretly. From the shadows, they saw something horrifying. The scientist drained the magical energy of a mystical bird and converted it into a chemical, which he then fed into his robots. It was then revealed that the truth was far darker than anyone imagined. These robots were not powered by science at all. They were running on magic. The scientist had been extracting magic from creatures, turning it into chemicals, and fueling his machines with it. Baba Yaga's fury erupted. She confronted him face to face. "You are a liar," she shouted. "These robots are not inventions. They are puppets powered by stolen magic. Even your so-called eternal youth was not gained by science, but by killing innocent magical beings and stealing their powers." The scientist's face twisted with rage. "Anyone who discovers my truth," he hissed, "never lives to tell it." At once, he summoned his guards and machines. Baba Yaga and Annie panicked, trying to flee. Realizing the danger, Yaga freed both Finist and the princess, for she knew the scientist would soon do the same to the princess as he had to countless others. The princess confessed that she already knew the scientist. He had been pursuing her for a very long time. eager to harvest her immense magic. Suddenly, the scientist stormed in with his army of robots, ordering them to capture everyone. He activated his dreadful machine, preparing to extract the princess's magic. Finist, bound in chains, struggled desperately. He couldn't free her, but he could still grasp her hand. He did so, and in an instant, she transformed into the monster. With her monstrous strength, she shattered her bonds and broke free. Baba Yaga seized the moment, helping Finist escape as well. Together, they ran, but the scientist's men were close behind. To buy time, Baba Yaga used her magic. She scattered watermelon seeds on the ground, and within seconds, they sprouted into giant watermelons, rolling toward the pursuers. But the scientist responded with his greatest weapon yet, a gigantic robot turtle. From within it, he controlled its every move. He could not let Finist and Yaga escape alive, not now that they knew his secret. Annie pleaded, "We already have enough magical chemicals. Let them go." But the scientist's obsession blinded him. He would not stop. The monstrous turtle smashed through the palace, and soon the scientist himself sat inside it, firing cannonballs at his fleeing enemies. Finist devised a plan. "Yaga," he said, "you distract it. I'll climb on top and flip it over. Once this turtle is upside down, it will never rise again." Yaga bravely stepped forward, but as the turtle's machine whirred to life, it began sucking the magic out of her body. Her youthful appearance withered instantly, and she became old and frail. Finist's heart ached at the sight. Still, she held the turtle's attention long enough for Finist to climb onto its shell. But then disaster struck. The scientist spread the turtle's arms wide, shaking violently to throw him off. In the chaos, Finist's glasses slipped from his face. His world went dark again. He was blind. "Finist," Yaga cried out. "Turn left. Strike now." She guided him with her voice as the princess, in her monstrous form, also arrived. The scientist trembled with fear at the sight of her. Summoning his last strength, Finist looped heavy chains around the turtle's neck and heaved with all his might. The turtle crashed to the ground, flipping over. Its belly split open, and all the magical chemicals stored within spilled out. Desperate, the scientist tried to escape using magical wings he had crafted. But they failed, and he fell into the spilled chemicals, his body dissolving within them. His reign of terror ended in a gruesome death. Finist, drained of energy, collapsed unconscious. The princess rushed to his side. Tears filled her eyes as she wept, believing she had lost him. Her tears fell onto his face, dripping into his eyes. Miraculously, his sight returned. Slowly, Finist opened his eyes and saw the princess. In that moment, he confessed his love for her, vowing to remain with her forever. But the princess shook her head sadly. "Because of my curse, I cannot stay with you," she whispered. Finist's heart broke. He returned to the village with Baba Yaga and Annie, but his thoughts never left the princess he loved. Later, while Baba Yaga searched for a way to restore her youth, she stumbled upon a discovery, a method to break the princess's curse. Overjoyed, she rushed to Finist and told him the good news. "The curse was not her fault," Yaga explained. "It was deliberately cast upon her. Our next mission must be to break it. But perhaps that is a tale for the next part of the story, one yet to be revealed."